my very distinguished friend and colleague, who is well known throughout the country for his initiatives in Hyderabad. Samir, can I see you? I'm addressing you and acknowledging the great work that you've done. My co-panelists who are available, who are here with me right now, Vijay and Mr. Singh, Mr. Rane, and friends. Okay, without much ado, let's move on to this new thought that we have. It's called Smart Food for Smart Cities. Day before yesterday, not day before yesterday, on the 28th in the morning when the finance minister gave the address, he talked about the vegetable initiative, the new initiative in which he's given about 300 crore rupees to ensure that the food that we have in the cities is not only traceable, it is transparent and it is good for health, because during the recent volatility in the price of onions, you've seen how sensitive the price of food can get to be. So how do we ensure that cities get good food? And when we talk about good food, we're not talking about just wheat and rice, we're talking about the entire spectrum, the rainbow which comprises your food basket. So let's go with it. Okay. Smart cities, normally our friends take care of good roads, good houses, public transport, communications, good schools, good hospitals, garbage disposal, green spaces and quality drinking water. But at the end of it, you need good food in good cities. And if you need good food in good cities, you need to think that there is a Department of Agriculture which provides that food. Normally, the Department of Agriculture gets ignored in all e-gov initiatives and all things of this sort. I think I got invited because at some point of time I was the IT Secretary of a state and therefore knew the e-gov people, and therefore Ravi thought that, all right, let's have somebody from the rural sector as well to look into these connections. Okay, friends, what is the typical consumption pattern in an urban city? You spend on taxes, you spend on housing, you spend on watching movies, consumer services, conveyance, medical, fuel, but food is still a major component of what you spend. And these days, with the prices of onions and the prices of cauliflower and the prices of several commodities, the food consumption or the perishable consumption has become a matter of concern. Now, it does not really become a matter of concern for people like us who are fortunate to be in the privileged sections of society. But when we look at the largest sections of people in society, especially those who are daily bread earners or those whose incomes do not have the sort of flexibility, then one finds that it is actually a problem for people to get good food. There are several households in Delhi and in several other cities who have stopped having fruits and vegetables. Fruits, many people have given up because many people can't even afford those fruits. But even when it comes to vegetables, the wide variety of vegetables which is available in the rural space is no longer affordable and is no longer available to cities in the manner it should be. And when it is available, you're not very sure about the quality, you're not very sure about how much fertilizer has been used, you're not very sure about the quality of water that has been used to do that, and you don't know how long it has been in the chain before it has come to you. Normally, when you go out to the rural areas, you find that all vegetables look very beautiful when they are fresh out of the field. But by the time they are sold, sometimes late in the evening, they've already lost their luster and they're not as good. And definitely, they've also lost a lot of their nutrition value, which should not have been lost, because today we have technology and we have systems which could ensure that throughout that value chain, this thing can be ensured. Okay, and look at the typical food and vegetable markets. You have these unorganized areas. Now, let's look at Delhi. And this presentation, we've got a lot of feedback from the government of Delhi. And we've been working with the government of Delhi because in the recent spike in the price of onions, we've noticed what the bottlenecks are. You see, we have one Azadpur Mandi in Delhi. One Mandi in Delhi which caters to this entire population. There are about 15 to 20,000 trucks of vegetables which come every day into Delhi, because that's our consumption. There are about 50,000 retailers in Delhi who are unorganized pushcart vendors, and they just operate the way you've seen them operating. If you put the entire initiative of Mother Dairy, the Safal booths which you find in the NDMC areas, and very few in the MCD areas, because in Delhi itself you have two cities. Basically, you have the NDMC, of which we are privileged citizens, and then you have the MCD, which is the not so privileged citizen, and there's the Delhi Dehat. So actually there is a three-tier system in Delhi also. But the organized retail in Delhi is not more than 3%. with all the efforts of the government, the organized retail is not more than 3%. And we realize that when you're trying to stabilize the price of onions. With all our efforts, we could only open 500 outlets in Delhi when NEFED, and my other capacity as the MD of NEFED, I was trying to sell onions at 20 rupees to, bring down the peak prices of onions. But with all our efforts, you couldn't do much, and there are 14 million consumers. So what happens? You have unhygienic systems which lead to unhealthy foods, congested traffic jam, high price, unaffordability. Now, therefore, to improve the production and marketing of vegetables, the government has just announced the National Vegetable Initiative, where amongst the many things, many separations and many divisions that have happened in our country, one is this great rural-urban divide. At very few fora do municipal commissioners and agricultural production commissioners sit together to sort out how are we going to address the problems of food in a city. Because we're looking at food or food consumption in many different silos. Somebody is creating it, somebody is vending it, somebody is consuming it. And a typical issue like deciding at what price onions will be exported out of the country, the interministerial consultations can go on for several days because there's so many stakeholders who are involved. Anyway, the National Vegetable Initiative is there to address issues both on the production side and on the consumption side. So the idea is that given IT, and that's where IT comes in. Today, it is possible for us to track production. It is possible today. 10 years ago, it would not have been possible for any outlet in Delhi to identify where have the peas come from, where have the bananas come from, where have the lychees come from, where have the cherry tomatoes come from. But today, with smart IT, it is possible for us to track where the different product lines are coming from, what the requirements are, and then tailor-make those requirements to ensure that there is least amount of wastage at various levels. On the production side, we're looking at organizing farmers into clusters, cutting down the usurious rates of interest. In fact, you'll be shocked to learn that the vendors, the vegetable growers, who actually, most of whom are tenants and are not really the owners of land, paying something like 60 to 100% per annum rates of interest on short-term basis. Protected cultivation, micro-irrigation, and support to government. All these things can be organized on a platform. And here, you're looking at support for aggregation centers and electronic auction platforms, so that whatever is coming into a big city, whether it is Delhi or Hyderabad or Mumbai, we should be able to see how that produce is coming in, and can it be graded, can it be pre-graded, and then can we put it on electronic auction. Because once that is done, then there is transparency in discovering who is getting what in the value chain. Because as things stand today, the money is not made by the producer. The consumer is paying a very, very high price for it. And the transactions are not clear and transparent because there is no application of IT in this very large system. And mind you, a city like Delhi spends a lot of money on fruits and vegetables. A city like Delhi would typically, in fact, our own assessment is that Delhi needs fruits and vegetables for about 25 to 40,000 crore rupees a year. That's the ballpark figure of how much would be the requirement of fruits and vegetables in Delhi. But out of this, what is the share of the producer? How much is the consumer paying, and how much is being taken by intermediation, which is not adding value? Now, these are the things which IT can easily address. Okay, so we're looking at systems where you have these ice cream vendors. So you have this Quality and this Mother Dairy, various ice cream vendors having their modern push carts. They're going to an ice cream retail point where they're picking up that ice cream and distributing it. So we're looking at systems where these kiosks or static shops can pick up their produce from 8 to 10 stock centers which ring fence the city and bring it closer to the consumer, drive themselves. And then it is possible for consumers who could be on the SMS alert, for the producers who could be on SMS alerts, to seamlessly integrate the entire system. Okay, so the broad picture is that if we could have terminal markets, organized retails, you already have milk booths, cash and carry, waste recycling, develop aggregators and producers companies, link all this in an IT chain. That is what we're looking at. So what is the role of IT in a smart city and in a smart food supply chain? The production level, telephony for weather forecasts, traceability, good agricultural practices, because that is the key factor. Today, the most most challenging task today is that as a commissioner of a corporation or as the in charge of health authority, you want to know whether the fruit and vegetable that is being consumed, what is the extent of insecticide, what is the extent of pesticide, has endosulfan been used, how much of urea has been used. It is not, one is not saying that urea is bad. One is not saying that insecticides are bad. Everything has a place. You cannot have the sort of, I mean, Delhi cannot be catered to by an organic market. You cannot do it. But the extent of fertilizer use, the extent of insecticide use, the extent of pesticide use has to be within tolerable limits, and those are well-known standards. And this can be enforced by having a good agricultural practice monitoring system. And mobile telephony for harvesting schedules based on demands. That's the possibility. Again, at the aggregation point, you have electronic auction platforms for price discovery. So if you have onions or potatoes or tomatoes, you exactly can discover what is the rate at which these cherry tomatoes came, what is the rate at which, what is the intermediation cost, and therefore it gives a very clear picture. Because today what is happening is that when the Azadpur Mandi brings out this ad saying that this is the wholesale rate for onions in Delhi, the wholesale rate is 20 rupees, your vendor is giving it to you at 40 rupees, you still don't know where this 20 rupees has gone. By this change, by this system, you can at least understand what is happening. So IT-based demand-supply matrix. Again, at the level of marketing, you can look at CA chaos, both static and mobile, web-based marketing, reefer vans, use of RFID technology, and IT-based demand-supply matrix. Now, the IT department of Delhi and the National Horticulture Mission have been working together. It's a very preliminary relationship that we have just had 2 or 3 meetings with them to actually, ensure that whoever is involved in the food chain in Delhi can be tagged electronically. So we know exactly which are the 2,000 trucks, which are the 2,500 trucks and vans, which are going to be getting vegetables, from where they're getting the vegetables, what time they started, what is the level. And Savitur is here now. I think you're all waiting for him. This is, in fact, I'm so glad that he's here at this point of time, because So if we have this GPS-based monitoring system, if we have a system by which the entry and exit based on barcodes, computer-recorded base, if we have entries on each transaction, then what happens is that, one, the Delhi government increases its revenue like anything. From the horticulture department point of view, from the government of India's point of view, we get a very clear understanding of what are the different components, where exactly are the bottlenecks. And in fact, as I was sharing with Samir, you see, we can actually get, for instance, nobody is buying cauliflower these days. You're actually needing those little florets of cauliflower to make into your vegetables. You might be needing cauliflower and peas and radishes and carrots and some potato. So rather than do this work in Delhi as a big city, all this can be done at the primary level itself. So you are adding value. You're adding value by using information at the village level itself, at the level where adding value adds to the income and profitability of the base level producer. So that is what IT would be able to do, and that's what we are trying to sort of work on. And these are other things that we wanted to share with you. That how has Singapore addressed this issue of street vendors? In the 50s and 60s, there was rapid urbanization, but you had the same sort of informal system that we are having today. And one of the problems with the hawking system today is not just the fact that and the hawkers are not, apart from the legitimate taxes which the hawkers are paying, there's a fair amount of informal transactions which the hawkers are compelled to pay, because there is no system in which we can transact or track. And a modern hawker is an empowered hawker, and you need empowered people there. So then you had this evolution of hawker centers managed by the National Environment Agency. So now Singapore has developed into modern air-conditioned food courts. You have kiosks. You roughly know what is going to be the price of fruits and vegetables, what is the quality, where is the produce coming from. So the National Vegetable Initiative initially targets all the metros, all the capital cities, and all clusters which have a population of 1 million and above. So there are 54 such cities in the country where the National Vegetable Initiative would be launched. And in the launch of this vegetable initiative, IT will have a major role to play. And this was a presentation at the Smart Cities Conference to just share with you that in case you're looking at smart cities, then you need to look at smart food. And therefore, we need to have the right technology interventions to get smart food. Partners in progress, state governments, Government of India, consumers, wholesale traders, retail chains, SFAC, and of course the municipal commissioners. Thank you very much.